When is it acceptable to park in a striped area next to a disabled parking spot? A. Never. B. When you have a disability plate or parking placard. C. When all other parking spaces are full. D. When you are only parking for a couple minutes. A. Never. Parking in the striped areas next to disabled parking spaces is prohibited. These spaces are reserved for wheelchair lifts. You need to use extra caution when driving near a pedestrian using a white cane because A. He or she is deaf. B. He or she is a police officer. C. He or she is blind. D. He or she has poor balance. C. He or she is blind. When driving near a blind pedestrian who is carrying a white cane or walking with a guide dog, you must slow down, yield the right of way, and then proceed with caution. Be prepared to stop your vehicle in order to prevent injury or danger to the pedestrian. Do not pass. A. On a hill. B. In a curve in the roadway. C. In an area where visibility is limited. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Drivers should not pass on a hill, in a curve, or in any other area where visibility is limited. Drivers should only pass where they may legally and safely do so. You must pull over to the edge of the road and allow an emergency vehicle to pass. A. Regardless of your direction. B. Only if it is following you. C. Only if it is approaching you from the opposite direction. D. None of the above. A. Regardless of your direction. You must pull over to the right edge of the road and stop for an emergency vehicle with flashing lights, regardless of whether it is approaching you from behind or from the opposite direction.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
This sign means A. Watch for trucks. B. Do not pass trucks. C. Truck parking area ahead. D. Steep downgrade ahead. D. Steep downgrade ahead. This sign warns of the presence of a hill ahead. To avoid carbon monoxide poisoning, it is important that you A. Do not use the air conditioning vents. B. Avoid driving when temperatures are above 85 degrees. C. Unlatch the hood of your vehicle while driving. D. Turn off the engine while in an enclosed space. D. Turn off the engine while in an enclosed space. To avoid carbon monoxide poisoning, it is important that a driver does not leave their vehicle running while it is in an enclosed space, such as a garage. They should not leave their vents open when driving closely behind another vehicle and should make sure that their exhaust system is always working properly. Which offense will cause a license to be automatically suspended? A. Driving while intoxicated. B. Failure to stop and render aid. C. Driving with an invalid license. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Convictions for some offenses result in the automatic suspension of your license and driving privilege. These offenses include driving while intoxicated, failing to stop and render aid following a collision, and driving with an invalid license. Which offense will cause a license to be automatically suspended? A. Racing while on a public roadway. B. Graffiti. C. Lending a license to another individual. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Convictions for some offenses result in the automatic suspension of your license and driving privilege. These offenses include racing on a public highway or street, graffiti, and lending a license to another individual. When driving in traffic, it is safest to A. Fluctuate your speed to keep alert. B. Drive faster than the flow of traffic. C. Drive slower than the flow of traffic. D. Drive with the flow of traffic. D. Drive with the flow of traffic. Crashes often happen when some drivers go faster or slower than other vehicles on the road. Always try to drive with the flow of traffic, within the posted speed limit. This sign is used to prevent A. Entrance to full parking lots. B. Entrance to road construction areas. C. Entrance to dead-end streets. D. Entrances from the wrong direction on one-way streets and expressway ramps. D. Entrances from the wrong direction on one-way streets and expressway ramps. This sign warns that a road has one-way traffic and you must not enter from your current direction. What does a lane control signal with a green arrow above a reversible lane indicate? A. The signal is about to change to a red X. B. Drivers should not drive in this lane. C. Drivers may use this lane only to make a left turn. D. Drivers may drive normally in this lane. D. Drivers may drive normally in this lane. Lane control signals are used when the direction of the flow of traffic in a specific lane changes throughout the day. They are used to show which lanes of traffic are open and closed, as well as to show if toll booths are open or closed. When a lane control signal contains a green arrow, drivers may drive normally in the indicated lane. It is against the law to A. Drive a vehicle with more than 2 passengers under the age of 12. B. Operate an open bed truck with a child occupying the bed. C. Use your headlights during the day. D. Drive while using a spare tire for a distance longer than 5 miles. B. Operate an open bed truck with a child occupying the bed. Operating an open bed truck while a person who is under the age of 18 is occupying the bed of the truck is unsafe and is not permitted. You may not cross a single broken white or yellow line. A. When doing so would interfere with traffic. B. When turning left into a driveway. C. When the car in front of you is disabled. D. When passing to the right on a one-way street. A. When doing so would interfere with traffic. You may cross a single broken line to pass or change lanes as long as you can do so safely and without interfering with traffic. To avoid carbon monoxide poisoning, it is important that you A. Do not use the air conditioning vents. B. Avoid driving when temperatures are above 85 degrees. C. Unlatch the hood of your vehicle while driving. D. Turn off the engine when in an enclosed space. D. Turn off the engine when in an enclosed space. To avoid carbon monoxide poisoning, it is important that a driver does not leave their vehicle running while it is in an enclosed space, such as a garage. They should not leave their vents open when driving closely behind another vehicle and should make sure that their exhaust system is always working properly. When driving to an unfamiliar area, you A. should depend on road signs to find your way. B. should plan your trip in advance. C. only have to know generally where your destination is. D. should always choose the most direct route. B. should plan your trip in advance. When driving to an unfamiliar area, plan your trip in advance. Don't start with only a hazy idea of where you are going. If your destination is in an unfamiliar area, check the location on a map before you start to drive. The most effective safety restraints in a traffic crash are: A. only a lap and shoulder belt. B. only an airbag. C. both a lap, shoulder belt and an airbag. D. no safety restraints. C. both a lap, shoulder belt and an airbag. Safety belts can double your chance of surviving a crash and more than double your chance of avoiding serious injury. Airbags, when used properly with safety belts, provide additional protection in a front-end crash. You should wear both shoulder and lap belts. As your speed increases, your field of vision A. increases. B. decreases. C. neither increases nor decreases. D. improves. B. decreases. As your speed increases, your field of vision decreases. When driving, you should do your best to take in your full available field of vision. Bicycles on the road? A. must always yield the right-of-way to motor vehicles. B. do not follow specific rules of the road. C. are considered vehicles with the same rights and responsibilities as motor vehicles. D. are nothing to worry about. C. are considered vehicles with the same rights and responsibilities as motor vehicles. Bicycles on the road are considered vehicles and have the same rights and responsibilities as motor vehicles. Drivers of motor vehicles should respect the rights of bicyclists. When a stop is required at an intersection and no markings appear to indicate a stop line or crosswalk, a driver A. is not required to stop. B. is required to slow down to make sure crossing traffic is clear. C. should stop only at a place where they can see at least 200 feet on either side, even if they have to enter the intersecting roadway. D. should stop where they have a clear view of approaching traffic before they enter the intersecting roadway. D. should stop where they have a clear view of approaching traffic before they enter the intersecting roadway. If there is no stop line or crosswalk, you should stop at the point nearest to the intersecting roadway where you can get a view of approaching traffic. You should not enter the intersecting roadway to gain a better view. Regulatory signs A. are placed in every location where there is a present danger. B. indicate what a driver must or must not do. C. are diamond-shaped and yellow or green. D. may warn drivers that they are approaching a school zone. B. indicate what a driver must or must not do. Regulatory signs are often rectangular and white with black markings and are used to indicate what things a driver must or must not do in a designated area. They may display speed limits, prohibit passing or turning, or clarify any other driving regulation. Drivers must yield to a pedestrian? A. even if the pedestrian crosses the street carelessly. B. only when the pedestrian is in a crosswalk. C. only if the pedestrian is on the same side of the road as the driver. D. If the pedestrian uses a hand signal to ask oncoming drivers to stop. A. Even if the pedestrian crosses the street carelessly. Drivers must always yield to pedestrians in the street, even if they are crossing against a red light or are otherwise being careless. Unless otherwise posted, the speed limit in an urban district is A. 15 miles per hour. B. 30 miles per hour. C. 45 miles per hour. D. 55 miles per hour. B. 30 miles per hour. When driving in an urban district, the speed limit is 30 miles per hour. If a different speed limit is posted, follow the posted speed limit. Unless otherwise posted, the speed limit in an alley is A. 15 miles per hour. B. 30 miles per hour. C. 45 miles per hour. D. 55 miles per hour. A. 15 miles per hour. When driving in an alley, the speed limit is 15 miles per hour. If a different speed limit is posted, follow the posted speed limit. At a four-way stop. A. The driver to arrive first has the right of way. B. The driver to arrive last has the right of way. C. One driver should continue driving without stopping. D. One driver should wave the other drivers ahead. A. The driver to arrive first has the right of way. At four-way stops, traffic from all four directions must stop. The first vehicle to reach the intersection should move forward first. If two vehicles reach the intersection at the same time, the driver on the left yields to the driver on the right. Round signs indicate A. No passing zones. B. School zones. C. Upcoming railroad crossings. D. Hospitals. C. Upcoming railroad crossings. Round signs warn drivers of an upcoming railroad crossing area. Drivers should use extra caution when approaching a railroad crossing. You are coming to an intersection with a flashing yellow light. You should A. Stop and wait for the light to change. B. Make a U-turn because the intersection is closed. C. Drive carefully through the intersection. D. Prepare to stop, the light is about to turn red. C. Drive carefully through the intersection. A flashing yellow light means that you should proceed through the intersection slowly and with caution. Scan your eyes across traffic in both directions. If your car breaks down on a highway, you should A. Sit in your car and wait for help. B. Use your four-way flashers to warn other drivers. C. Sound your horn at passing motorists. D. Flash your headlights at oncoming traffic. B. Use your four-way flashers to warn other drivers. If your vehicle breaks down on the highway, you should signal before carefully exiting the roadway and turning on your hazard flashers. Get as far off the road as possible and park in a location where other drivers can easily see you. Lift your hood to let other drivers know your vehicle is disabled. This road sign means A. The road ahead curves right. Slow down to the safe speed indicated. B. Divided highway begins. Slow down to the safe speed indicated. C. Merge. Slow down to the safe speed indicated. D. Winding road ahead. Slow down to the safe speed indicated. A. The road ahead curves right. Slow down to the safe speed indicated. These signs indicate that the road curves to the right ahead and that drivers should slow down to the safe speed indicated, in this case, 35 miles per hour. Texting while driving is allowed? A. When there are very few cars around. B. Under no circumstances. C. If drivers are using voice to text. D. If the driver's eyes only leave the road for a couple of seconds. B. Under no circumstances. It is against the law to read, write, or send messages on a cell phone or other portable wireless device. If your cell phone rings, do not answer the call or respond to the text message. Convictions for violations of this law are subject to fines. Reasonable assistance to those injured in a collision includes A. Calling for medical personnel. B. Applying pressure or bandaging to wounds. C. Arranging transportation for the injured. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Drivers involved in collisions should provide reasonable assistance to those injured. This can include calling for medical personnel, arranging transportation, or applying pressure or bandaging to someone who is bleeding.